Hi, Footprinters. Chrissy here with another Hidden Treasures mystery. Today, I am going to be looking at the Amber Room. Now, the Amber Room was originally constructed in 1701 in Prussia and installed in a few palaces, two palaces in Germany, until it was installed for the final time and moved and installed for the final time to the Palace of Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg in 1716, where it was until it disappeared during World War II. So the Amber Room is a chamber within the palace, and it was decorated with amber panels that were backed with gold leaf and mirrors. Now, the story is that it was looted in World War II by the North Army group from Hitler's Germany, Nazi Germany, in 1941. Now, in 1979, from 1979 to 2003, a project was undertaken to recreate the Amber Room. And you can go and see the recreation of it today, even in the Palace at St. Petersburg. But the original installation, 55 square metres of amber panels, or 6 tonnes, has never been found since it was looted. Now, in 1941, it was looted by the Nazis, and it was then moved to Königsberg Castle in Germany and put on display for a few years until 1945, where Hitler ordered it to be moved. Now, what happened to it then? Nobody really knows. There are a few theories, so I'm going to have a look at the theories. The first one is that what the Nazis took away was a replica. The first theory is that Stalin replaced the room with replica panels in 1939 to avoid it falling into Nazi hands. Now, so first I'm going to have a look and see if this is the actual case. And then hid it away, hid the original panels away, and now nobody knows where they were hidden, so they're lost. So that's one theory, that it never fell into a Nazi's hand, and what they ended up with was just a replica panels. It seems like a lot to put 6 tons of amber, even if it wasn't the same quality as the original panels, up in a replica. That seems like a lot of work. Now, other theories are that it was moved onto the Wilhelm Gustaf, which was a ship that left Gdynia on June the 30th, 1945. Gdynia, I think, is up in the Russian area of the Atlantic. But this ship, the Wilhelm Gustaf, a lot of military historians will be aware of it. It was torpedoed and sunk by a Russian sub soon after. So one theory is that it went down with the ship. Another theory is that it was destroyed when Königsberg Castle was damaged by bombing between the 9th and the 11th of April in 1945. That's another theory. Now, it would have had to have absolutely obliterated it. Now, another theory is that bits and pieces of the room are said to pop up every now and then, bits of amber. Now, it would be very brittle. It was very brittle in 1941. But there are 3 elderly gentlemen a few years ago, I don't know the exact year, but they came out. There was a 73-year-old homeopath, a 67-year-old scientist, and a 71-year-old georadar specialist. They were German, and they are convinced that the panels are hidden in the Princess Cave in the Hartenstein Hills near Dresden in Germany. So I'm going to start exploring these possibilities, these theories as to what happened to the Amber Room, because the original installation that was put in 1716 has never been found. Okay, So, going to look at that. So we're going to start off with theory number one, that Stalin actually replaced it with a replica before the Germans even made it to St. Petersburg. Now, this is one story I have heard before, and that he had it hidden and nobody knows where it was hidden. So even the reconstruction caused a lot of difficulties. The new room was dedicated to Russian President Vladimir Putin and the German Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder at the 300th anniversary of the city of St. Petersburg. That's the reconstructed one. Okay, now, so we're going to start. Did Stalin replace the Amber Room with a replica? So, Guide to the highest truth and compassion, please help me find clarity, insight and objectivity into the question and the mystery of the Amber Room. Where is it? So, let's have a look. We're looking at the first theory of what happened to the Amber Room from the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, is that Stalin actually ordered it to be removed and replaced with a replica to avoid it falling into Nazi hands. Now, it would have been very brittle even at that stage. So let's have a look. Well, it's a very bright theory, but I think this is the sun, which can be used as a yes card, but I think in this case it means it's overexposed. It's been looked at so many times. There's no record of it. It's a theory that's just, I feel like it should be reversed, the sun, and that it sheds no light on what really happened to the room. So I'm getting the feeling that no, it wasn't really the case. La Murray, that doesn't mean to say he didn't have a plan in place or he hadn't been speaking to people about it. He may have, but it would just have been too impractical to do that. And it's not something you could do in space, in such a short time. I mean, the replica that they created took 24 years to do. So him just taking it out and replacing it with a replica just does not make sense. It does not ring true. The work and the deals that would have had to have been done, it would have been like just way too much. So, I mean, it may have been touted to him, but I do not feel that it would have happened. If he had removed it, he would have just removed it and hidden it, not replaced it with a replica for the Germans to take. 4 of Battens. No, it remained in place. It remained in place. So that, to me, is what theory was put to him by others. We've got a deal, and may even have been maybe a deal to remove it and put it somewhere safe, but that never happened. But putting in a complete replica, no. What would have happened if Stalin had taken it out? He would have just taken it out and put it somewhere safe. So no, I do feel it remained in place in its home with the 4 of Wands. So I do feel that pretty well just conks that theory on the head. Stalin did not replace the Amber Room with a replica. Okay. Now, I'm going to have a look at another theory which is the three elderly Germans who a few years ago said they were sure the geo-radar expert, one of them, the geo-radar, I think, was given a hint, a tip that it was in these caverns in the Princess Cave. They're quite big, the Princess Cave, and that the panels were there. Now, so did they end up in this cave? Did the panels end up in this cave? I'm not saying that bits of the panels couldn't have been broken off and somehow ended up in other places. I'm quite sure that is possible. It was very brittle, apparently. But, you know, so some ephemera from it might have, you know, some bits and pieces of it might have broken off. But is it in this cave near Dresden? Seven of Cups. That's very doubtful. Very doubtful. I'm using the Tarot Decorative, by the way, which I felt was very, it's a very sumptuous deck, and I felt it was very appropriate, given that we're talking about the amber room with the colours and the decorations. No. A good story, maybe. Trickery. So we've got Seven of Cups. A good story, but yeah, not really true. And we've got the Magician. Now you see it, now you don't. Pulling the wool over your eyes, I'm getting. Really, the proof and any evidence of that, it being moved to these, I mean, there's been stories of it being moved to a silver mine here and there. Any evidence or any paperwork of it being moved to these particular caves is not very strong. I feel like this should be reversed, the strength card. So it's a pretty weak story. It was on display at Königsberg Castle for several years. We know that. But where it went afterwards, what happened to it after that, well, there is some doubt. This silver mines, where it's supposed to have been placed in Austria or somewhere, they've been pretty widely searched, and there's been no indication of it. So I'm not even going to go to the silver mines, which is in a different area in Austria or somewhere. This in this cavern, Princess Cavern cave in the Hartenstein Hills near Dresden, it just doesn't hold a lot of water. Yeah, Diablo lies. Yeah, deception, just falling for these things. People, you're wasting your time, wasted time, wasted energy, and which is this as well, upside down. The Magician reversed can be wasted time and wasted energy as well. We've also got the Nine of Swords. And such an expedition would just end up being a nightmare for these people to go in and look for it. So I don't feel that it is hidden in the Princess Cave near Dresden. Another theory is that it was damaged or destroyed when the Königsberg Castle was bombed, damaged by bombing between the 9th and the 11th of April in 1945. It's interesting, a card flew out. The moon. Lies, deceptions, just no evidence that it was still there. barking at the moon. I do feel that even if it had been destroyed during the bombing raid, when the castle was damaged, there would have been traces of it found, and there was never any report of it being found. That castle was searched because they knew it had been there. So I think if you've ever seen a movie called The Monuments Men, this unit went in, and their job was to go in after the troops and recover stolen art. They would have gone stolen art, stolen treasures. They would have gone to Königsberg. They would have looked, especially if it had been known to have been on display there. So no, I'm getting a no with it being damaged. To me, it just plans had been made and carried out before that. This is the carrying out of plans with the two of battens. So we've got an emphatic no from the moon card. Searching and assessing, which would have been people like the Monuments Men unit and all that going in and checking, and a strategy had already been carried out. Now, one of the most, there's a lot of witness statements saying that they saw amber panels being loaded onto the Wilhelm Gustaf. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at this. Was it on the Wilhelm Gustaf? Now, remembering that the Wilhelm Gustaf was sunk by a Russian sub soon after leaving port on January the 30th, 1945. Now, it was said that they packed up the amber room from the palace near St. Petersburg in 36 hours and took it away. So it could have been done early January and transported to Godilia, which I think, I'm not 100% sure on this, there'll be a map on the Russian coast. So let's have a look. Was it loaded on the Wilhelm Gustaf? Were these witness statements true? It was put away, four of swords, which is a maybe, definitely a maybe. It was being seen, removed, retreated. The hanged man paused, basically put in storage. That's a maybe, yes. And Roy, the King of Cups, yes. Yeah. What I'm getting is it removed to safety. So retreated, removed to safety. So the panels were retreated, removed to safety for rest and recovery, I suppose you'd call it. To be placed somewhere safe. I suppose you could say it could have been placed in a crypt-like area or in a tomb or in a container, something like that. Storage, put away where it could be held for safety. Now, this is the King of Cups. This is interesting because, of course, cups are water. Was it on the Wilhelm Gustaf? I've got the Four of Battens again, which is it's found a new home. And here's the interesting one. So the Four of Battens headed for a new home. They were transporting it somewhere. Three of battens or three of wands. Now, remember in the previous reading, I said they had a strategy. A strategy had already taken place. A plan had already been taken place and done and carried out to remove the room from Königsberg Castle. Now, I've asked the question, was it on the Wilhelm Gustaf? And this is a yes card, and it also the results of a strategy being carried out. I do feel like was it sunk on the ship? There was a decision, yeah, there was a decision made, a vital decision. So they did that, they took that step. And the 6 of deniers. And a deal was made. Okay. So they made the decision and a deal was made. I think I'm trying to remember where the Wilhelm Gustaf was going to be sent to. Let's have a look. Wilhelm Gustaf was a German armed military transport ship which was sunk on the 30th of January in the Baltic Sea while evacuating Germans from East Prussia, Lithuania, from Gothafen, or otherwise known as Gdynia. Yeah, it was a very tragic story. A lot of people died on this ship sinking when this ship was sunk, and it was carrying 9,400 people, most of which were women and children, civilians, and from East Prussia, Lithuania, Latvia, Poland, and Estonia. So it is a very tragic story in itself. Yeah. So I do feel that they had made a deal that when the ship got to where it was going, it would have been, the stuff would have been handed off to somebody else for safekeeping. Prayers. An assessment. Yeah, I look. So I've got the Pope, the Hierophant processes. It was going to be handed off to somebody of high stature to be looked after, but it never got there. There was maybe a last minute, oh, should we do it or should we move it elsewhere? But I think they put it on the ship. Now, I do know that the Wilhelm Gustaf, I'm pretty sure, has been found, but it's a war grave. So, you know, going into it and all that is a big no-no. But I feel that the Amber Room, what I'm feeling is that it went down on the Wilhelm Gustaf. And that, as I said, that in itself was a very tragic story. It went down with a lot of people. If it's there, it should just remain there. I think that it was a huge tragedy. 9,400 people were on that ship, and it was submarined, and most of them were civilians. So I'm going to ask one last question. Okay, and I'm going to use a different deck for clarification here with it. So I'm just going to ask for confirmation. using the Universal Tarot deck. Did the Amber Room go down on the Wilhelm Gustaf on the January 30th, 1945, when that ship was sunk by a Russian submarine in the Baltic Sea? Very tragic story in itself. I've got the Ace of Wands, that's a yes. I have got the Six of Cups, very, very big feeling of sadness, very big feeling of sadness with children, family. The overwhelming emotion of emotion with the Queen of Cups, which is also, they are all yes cups. Yes, I do feel it is. We've got a Ten of Swords here, but that's indicative of loss of life, loss of children. We've got the Queen of Wands as well, and again we've got the Hierophant, indicating that it was going to travel elsewhere and be handed off to someone of quite high stature. Loss, yeah, again we have loss. Oh, we don't have the Hierophant. Yeah, we've got the Hierophant here, but we also have the Emperor, someone of high standing. Yeah, it's they had a few choices and they made that one. They put it on the Wilhelm Gustaf, and that's where it is, and that's where it's going to remain, and that's where it should remain. So my conclusion from looking at all this, with what happened to the Amber Room from Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, is that it was looted by the Nazis. It did end up being loaded onto the Wilhelm Gustaf, which was tragically sunk in the Baltic Sea, with the loss of a lot of lives. If it's down there, that is where it's going to remain, and that's where it should remain. So thank you very much, guys, for watching this video with me, enjoying it, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you soon for another mystery, another hidden treasure. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.